Hi, this is Whispers. I will be doing the reading for the sign of Aries for the month of August 2026. The deck that I'm using is the Rider-Waite deck by Pamela Coleman Smith and Arthur Waite. And what I've done is I've pulled 4 rows of 3 cards each. Each consecutive week is going to be guided by the overall energy card. And so we're going to start with that. And the overall energy card I got for you, Aries, is the Wheel of Fortune. And it's a good card because yours is straight up. So that energy card is going to affect each consecutive week and every consecutive card that is pulled within each week. So it's going to be a long listen. Put your feet up, grab a coffee, a tea, the cat, and be prepared. Maybe even get a pen and a pad and write down dates that you may need to remember. Okay, so the energy card, it's the Wheel of Fortune straight up. It talks about change. Change is happening now, right now. So prepare for the change. Prepare for the better cycles that are coming into your life. Now, it does talk about reoccurring themes in your life. Your life is changing, but there are reoccurring things that you're having to deal with that you've had to deal with in the past, okay? Luck is going to be found in a new job, a new opportunity, or maybe even a new environment. But it does talk about a second chance in your life in all aspects. And it does talk about travel. So there is transformation. There's positive changes that are coming in finances, in job, in environments, and even in your relationships. And some relationships are changing in the month of August. So it does talk about it being that next cycle in your life. And so there's positive things and reoccurring things that you are going to deal with within each consecutive week, depending on the cards pulled therein. So in the first couple of days of that first week, you have the Five of Swords and it's reversed. Now remember, reoccurring themes, right? And it's talking about fear, resistance to change. And this is something that you've dealt with previous, where you have, jumped into something really quick. And then all of a sudden you thought, damn, am I making the right choice? I'm a little leery. I'm a little scared, right? But it does talk about denial that change has occurred. Maybe your company shut down. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe your relationship broke apart, okay? So there are reoccurring themes, and this is something that you're going to have to contend with in the month of August. Solutions, there are solutions. Of course, there are solutions to every dilemma, but you might have to research it. And that might, things might not go in the direction that you want them to go, but possibly because of events that are taking place around you. I mean, our world is at war right now, and we are on shaky ground, okay? So there might be skirmishes, there might be riots, there might be job losses, economic downturns, okay? And you're wanting to get away from it. You're wanting to move to more peaceful surroundings and get back your semblance of balance in your life, okay? Now, it does talk about you dealing with some type of unconscious conflict where, you might be thinking, well, I want to leave here. I want to leave where I am. I want to leave this chaos. But if I move into another, or maybe even to another country, and you're kind of thinking, damn, am I kind of putting myself like out there? Am I taking a risk here, right? So there are things that are happening in your life that are making you question your decisions. And that's in the first couple of days of that first week. Now, it seems like you're pulling away from a larger group. I mean, it could be a group of people where you were actively involved politically, religiously, spiritually, okay? And it does say that you're having to deal with some power struggles with individuals within that group, and that might be very well why you're pulling away. Maybe you're a political figure and your party is basically turning against you, okay? Those type of things. So we're going to move into the middle 2 days of that first week, and you have the Three of Swords. And the Three of Swords talks about, and yours is reversed. So it talks about, attempting to hide bad news. Maybe someone is hiding information from you that they don't want you to learn about. And that could be a health issue that they're dealing with and they don't want to worry you. That could be a person in your life, a mentor, a boss, a family member, even a partner. Okay, a romantic partner. Maybe it's even you, Aries. Maybe you're trying to hide the fact that you're dealing with a chronic illness at this point in time, okay? Now, it does talk about stress, and stress has been affecting you for a long time, and it's starting to wear and tear on your body. So it does say that health problems may be in the early stage of development, but you may be able to turn things around if you can manage that stress and those cortisol levels and take better care of your body. Listen to your body. Your body is screaming for help. Now, very well, as I said, it could be someone else, could be someone else's issues, okay? And maybe they're suffering, but you're not really aware of how much. You're not aware of how much pain or anxiety that they're going through at this point in time. And you know, they might be so used to hardship that they just don't talk about it anymore. This could simply be a child of yours who is going through health issues, okay? A friend, a family member, a mentor, someone who has a close connection to you. Now, could even be an ex, because it does talk about rehashing old memories or maybe even old injuries. Maybe something has happened to you in a previous relationship and now you're dealing with the repercussions of that. I mean, it simply could be, you know, maybe some type of physical abuse or stress that took place in your life, okay? And you might be pointing the finger and saying, well, if you hadn't done this, I wouldn't be dealing with this, right? So it does talk about you having to learn to control any negative thoughts in your life at this point in time. And you know, you might even have to put a little bit more effort in to improve a relationship, but don't get involved in somebody else's relationship issues, okay? Stay the hell out of it, Aries. Just stay out of it. And you know what? Don't let anyone else stick their nose in your business either, because gossip can cause harm. And you know, someone's going to jump in there and they're going to try to pressure you to pick sides, right? To decide that they had nothing to do with it or someone else's fault, you know, like placating and putting the blame on someone else and asking you to kind of second their opinion. Don't do it. Don't do it. But it does say that there's someone that you care about that's trying to stay in a bad relationship, a bad situation, or even a bad job, because they're blind to the better jobs out there. They've closed themselves out, possibly because of fear. Fear of the outside world, or fear of changes in their life. And this is something, as I said, that you have dealt with. It's a reoccurring theme in your life. You get moving on something, and then all of a sudden you scare yourself into retreating. Don't do it this time. Okay, so the next card you have is the Three of Pentacles, and it's straight up. And we're still in that first week. So it does talk about you getting involved in building something, maybe physically, maybe building a building, or maybe you're building a business, or maybe you're building your confidence, okay? But it does talk about possibly working with your hands, getting involved in renovations, maybe even becoming an artist or involved in carpentry, becoming a writer, or sewing something, making something creative. And this might very well be a job opportunity being offered to you where you're able to create with a steady hand. So it does talk about good money is going to be offered. The work is going to be meaningful. You might even join a service club or do some type of community project, maybe even working for commissions. So it does talk about a creative endeavor with a group of friends or family members, and you are going to gain popularity through something that you have created. Maybe you're going to do a mural on a downtown wall, okay? Now, it does talk about you taking pride in whatever it is that you are building or creating with your hands. So that's a good thing. And let's move into the second week. And, you know, stop doubting yourself. You have the skills that you need. Move forward and stop letting that reoccurring theme of fear in that first week stop you from doing this. Okay, so we're into the second week. And you have the Five of Pentacles, and it's straight up. The Five of Pentacles talks about a secure situation that's going to possibly destabilize or maybe even change. And that could be change in a home dynamic, in a relationship issue. Maybe someone's leaving a partnership or a relationship, or moving houses. Okay, could simply be that a child of yours has moved home to gain some balance, and now they're at the point where they've reached that level that they wanted to, and now they're leaving. They're leaving and moving out on their own. So it does talk about a change in your material situation. Now, if someone was contributing to the finances at home and then they move out, okay, of course there's going to be a change in your financial situation. And, you know, you might be feeling a little needy at this point, or maybe even you're feeling like someone has basically pushed you out of the loop. They haven't told you what's going on, okay? But it could also be that maybe you're the one, Aries, that's moving house. Maybe you're leaving a secure home environment, maybe living with a parental figure, or living with an aunt or a cousin or a friend, a mentor, okay, a coworker. And you're finally at the point where you think that you need your space, or maybe they need their space, okay? Now, it does talk about needy family members, and it does talk about financial help that is going to be extended. Now, are you the one that's going to help someone else, maybe a child, a family member of yours? You're helping them financially because maybe they got kicked out of their apartment or their house, okay? So these type of issues, I mean, it's a general reading, so you're the only one that knows how this is going to affect you. But reoccurring themes. Remember, I said that Wheel of Fortune is your energy card, reoccurring themes. So you've been there, done this before. So possibly you have previously lost a living situation, or your landlord sold the apartment building, or, you know, someone moved out and you weren't able to accommodate the rent, the cost of the apartment that you're living in. So you've dealt with these issues before, okay? You've dealt with them before. All right, so we are now, it looks like there's legalities coming up, because in the middle couple of days of that second week, you have the Justice card reversed. As I said, don't get involved in other people's issues. So if someone wasn't paying their rent and they ended up having to go to court, because it seems to be revolving around a home environment, okay? Now, don't get involved in illegal activities. Don't try to steal or lie, or, you know, blame somebody else if you know that you're in the wrong, okay? Because if you get involved in this dynamic, you're going to look bad too. And maybe your credit rating is going to be affected. So, you know, it could have to do with first and last month's rent. Maybe this person has decided to move out, and they want their last month's rent, and you can't accommodate that, or your landlord can't accommodate it, or your landlord is refusing because of damages to return last month's rent, okay? And you're saying, well, it wasn't me, it wasn't my fault it happened, it happened before I moved in, right? And so if you know that that's a lie, don't force the issue. Yeah, because it's going to look pretty bad on you. And that is going to ruin your reputation, especially when it comes to maybe looking for another home or another environment, another apartment, okay? So be aware of that. So there is some legalities, and it's reversed. So it's not a good picture when the legality card, the Justice card, is reversed. So we are now in the last 2 days of the second week. And you have the Love card. You have the Ace of Cups, and it's straight up. Well, it does talk about a new emotional experience, a new relationship, love, or even a new job. It could talk about pregnancy. And remember, someone is moving, right? Someone is moving, and maybe they're moving because they're going to become a first-time parent, okay? It does talk about abundance and creativity. It talks about possibly childbirth and pregnancy and something new coming into being. But it could also be that maybe you lost your apartment, your house, your home, your mortgage, whatever it is. And maybe you meet someone who says, oh, hell, don't worry about it. Move in with me until you get back on your feet. Now, it does talk about healing. Healing from an injury, whether that's physical, emotionally, or psychologically, or even spiritually, okay? And it does say that someone is going to offer you a way out of this dilemma at the end of that second week. Maybe they're going to propose, you know, a new job offer to you, or maybe a marriage proposal, or maybe they're going to say, yeah, move in with me until you get back on your feet. You don't got to pay rent. Just save your money, okay? Now, it does talk about you learning to express your feelings. So someone, if someone is putting those energies out to you where they're willing to help you in some way because they care about you, okay? Make sure that you acknowledge their effort and that you appreciate it. And a thank you is very much going to be in order here. So we're going to move into the third week. Whoa. We have the Ten of Pentacles reversed. Third week. Okay. I'm kind of seeing where It just seems like someone is moving. Someone is moving unexpectedly or suddenly, okay, and possibly due to a relationship breakup. But it does talk about the shrinking of a household, right? So children moving away, a partner leaving, someone that was contributing is moving on into a new endeavor in their life, a new area in their life. But it could also talk about losing a job and so having to move to a new location because of a job loss, okay? Corporate downsizing. It does talk about restructuring at work, maybe even dealing with different aspects of your work. Maybe you're leaving one area of a job with the company you're in and you're moving to another location. You're being transferred because one company might be, or one location might be shutting down, and so they're transferring you to a new place. Now, it does talk about pulling away from a situation that was was a little restricting on you, right? Or maybe even too controlling, whether that's a romantic relationship, a familial relationship, or even a work partnership, okay? The rules were really rigid. Yeah. Communication was indirect and human, maybe even non-negotiable. And there does talk about dissipation of money or even overdoing it on spending and, maybe even an inheritance where indeed someone kind of overstepped the bounds and maybe your inheritance was blown. Maybe the executor ended up, confiscating a lot of your inheritance and blowing it, spending it. It has been lost, okay? Maybe you took money that you had left to you from a parental figure, maybe even a property from a parent or a grandparent. They left you something and you kind of blew through that money. Or maybe you lost that money because you purchased a house and you weren't able to accommodate the mortgage on that home. I mean, maybe your inheritance was simply a down payment for a home, but you didn't look at the long-term faction of it, and so you're not able to accommodate paying the mortgage monthly, and so you lost it. That would be a loss of an inheritance. It also talks about possibly having someone live with you that you might, the caretaking role might be reversed. And that could having a parent live with you, a grandparent, okay? Maybe your parent or your grandparents lost their home because they didn't have the money to pay the mortgage, okay? And that house was going to be left to you when they passed, and maybe they lost because of towering cost, right? I can never pronounce that word. Tower-in, costs, right? Where the costs are outweighing the money that's coming in. So it could very well be that a home that would have been left you in an inheritance has been lost to rising costs. Now, it also talks about relationship stress with an individual who's moving in with you. Okay, maybe a parental figure, maybe a grandparent, and maybe you're pissed. You're pissed that they blew through your inheritance, and there's nothing left, and now you're ending up having to take care of them. Okay, but maybe they're of the mindset that they're your parent, and that's expected of you to take care of them as they get older. Okay, and maybe you don't believe in that. Yeah, you have different belief systems, different belief values, maybe even a different attitude toward caretaking roles, okay? But it does say be diplomatic because you never know what they've stashed under the mattress. Okay, so the next card you have in the middle 2 days of the third week is the moon, and it's straight up. So that talks about deception, plain and simple. Something is going to come to the light of day. Yep. You're going to find out an untruth, and possibly about a Scorpio individual, okay? And it might have to do with an illness that they have been diagnosed with, something in the early stage of development that could be cancer, heart problems, diabetes, anything that is going to give an added cost, okay? It also talks about foundation issues. Now, and you could take this a couple of ways. If you don't have a solid relationship, a balanced relationship with a parental figure or even a grandparent, okay? If you don't have a good relationship with them, it's going to be a lot easier to kind of say, well, it's not my problem, right? So there could be a lot of issues that are dealing with the foundation of a relationship. But there also could be foundation issues that are physical in your home, in your literal home, in your brick and mortar foundation, okay? And that might be where the financial issues were coming up with this person that you care about, this person that may have lost their home. It may be due to flooding, it may be due to lack of insurance or lack of funding to be able to fix water damage that had happened, okay? The big thing here is to be very careful around water. Yeah. It talks about flooding. It talks about danger. It talks about, don't go swimming alone. Don't go cliff diving into the water, sort of thing, right? Steer clear of potential danger, especially around water. Don't go boating, canoeing or kayaking all by yourself, okay? Always make sure that you have a safety net. Now, it does talk about you having this sense of intuition. As I'm listening to or saying this reading and you're listening to it, it might click with you. Damn, I'm supposed to go fishing on the last week of July. Maybe I should cancel. Yeah, maybe you should. It also talks about having to delay any type of romantic involvement. First, gain some clarity on this individual, okay? Get to know them. Don't be jumping the gun. I mean, becoming obsessed with someone, okay? It's not that point yet. You don't know them. There's an element of illusion here. There's something about this individual that doesn't ring true. And, you might be being influenced by someone who's deceiving you. They're after something. Maybe you do have, a family dynamic where there is money, okay? And maybe this individual is trying to feed into that. They figure you're worth some money. So be aware of that. And it does talk about you benefiting from protective influences. So that could be friends, family members that are saying to you, you know what, that's too far and that's too fast. You're getting into this relationship much too quickly. Okay, last 2 days of that third week, you have the Seven of Pentacles, and Seven of Pentacles is straight up. And that talks about you're finally taking the right steps. You're looking at things with those rose-colored glasses the hell off, okay? You're planning things step by step. You're being very self-reliant. And you're going against mainstream. You're not like everybody else. You have a different attitude. You have a different power system, okay? You're standing up for your personal values, not putting up with shit. You're being reliable and you're going to be very successful, Aries, okay? But there is something that is going to take place, an unexpected turn of events, where you might decide to do something differently, okay? Now think about it. The first part of that third week, there might have been a relationship, right? And there might have been a loss of an inheritance, right? And a relationship suddenly came into being, and maybe they were spending your money. A romantic partner was kind of like blowing your money left and right? And you finally seen the truth. And you might look at that and, think about it, reoccurrent themes, right? So you might see something in that relationship that you just started that has warned you. It's given you a warning about the past, something that you did before. You were too quick to move in with someone, and then you found out they were literally taking advantage of you. So that might be something that's taking place at this point in time, and you might decide to not get involved in that relationship, to not move in with that individual, and maybe to achieve your goal in a different, more sustainable and realistic way for you, simply for you. So we're in that last week, and the very first card you have in that last week is the Tower card, and the Tower card is reversed. The Tower card reverse talks about emotional events, upheaval, inner turmoil, okay? It talks about destruction of false beliefs, false ideologies that don't resonate with you anymore, yeah? And in the third week, there might have been a relationship that you've seen that was not benefiting you in any way that you left. And so you're enacting it now in that last week, okay? But it does talk about neglected chores or even problems with your health because you've been ignoring it. You've been dealing with everybody else's chaotic energy and ignoring your body. So it does talk about possibly pulling away from some type of risky lifestyle. And it does talk about alcohol, drinking, okay? Isolating yourself. Examine your life at this point in time. You need to. okay? And you're in the first couple of days of that last week, and now you're looking at your life and you're saying, you know what? I don't want this type of lifestyle. And it's a reoccurring theme. You seem to get dragged back into this, and normally because of a relationship in your life. So it does talk about having to examine your life in the areas that you need to change. It also talks about having to be cautious, okay? Working from a height, working from a ladder, being careful something doesn't fall off the top shelf and clonk you in the head, right? So it does talk about creative breakthroughs. You have that aha moment, okay? There is going to be tensions building in a relationship, possibly due to the fact that you're looking at it with those rose-colored glasses off and you're saying, I'm not really sure about this. I want it to end. So it does talk about you feeling a semblance of anger, maybe even frustration towards someone in your life, and you're wanting to pull away. So try to keep that anger in check and do what you need to do. But it does talk about unexpected blow-ups. You might be fed up. You're fed up, Aries, with someone taking advantage of you financially, okay? And you might just blow your lid. And that is going to end a cycle that you started in your life that you weren't ready for. And it's time to end it. So you're going to be able to move forward in a more balanced way. So we're going to move into, oh, I see where this is going. The middle 2 days of that last week. You are going to be pissed, because you have the Three of Cups reversed, and that talks about a love triangle. So someone was cheating, and you might learn of it in that last week, especially in the middle 2 days of that last week. Yeah. You know, and other people aren't going to be patting you on the back for finding out about it, right? They might be a little bit angry that you were, snooping. They assume it's their business. They're not looking at the fact that maybe they cheated on you. Okay, so they're going to be placating. They're going to be blaming you. They're going to be saying, well, if you hadn't done this, I wouldn't have cheated, right? So you might be going through a period of loneliness, or maybe you even feel cut off from people. And you need a support system at this point in time, okay? Maybe you're going to turn to your family, your brothers, your sisters, your friends. But it seems like the dynamic in a family relationship you were drifting apart from. And that could simply be that you were involved in a romantic partnership where your romantic partner didn't want you to have a close connection to family and friends because they wanted to control you in some way. But you know what, Aries? You've seen it. You've seen it. And so you know what? You're done with it. You're done. You are not going to be isolated anymore. You're going to pull away from some partner or some activity or some environment that, was holding you back from having a connection to your friends or your family, okay? And be aware, when we're going through emotional elements like this, we usually turn to an addiction. Drugs and alcohol, gaming, sexual activities, maybe even food. And so you might be over and indulging in any of those areas because of a sense of loneliness, and possibly because your partner was cheating on you and you found out about it. Okay, so we're in the very last 2 days of that last week, and you have the Two of Wands reversed. And that talks about indecision. So some shit was going down, okay, romantically, and you're still kind of thinking, well, I could fix it. No, you can't. You can't. Think about this reoccurring theme, and it says right in this card, the Two of Wands reversed, it says a familiar choice that didn't work before. And if it didn't work before, Aries, it sure as hell ain't going to work this time. Simple as that. Just keep moving. Give up a relationship that is holding you back in some way, okay? Simplify your life. It does talk about partnership turmoil. It talks about maybe even a friendship, a business, or a project partnership where you're dealing with some type of inequality due to ego, right? Well, think about it. If your partner cheated on you and they think they're all that and some more, there's that ego, that inflated ego, right? They think that they're worth more, that they're better than you are, right? And so you need to look at this very carefully. Like I really feel sorry for you, because your whole reading is bent on the fact that someone else was taking advantage of your sensitivity. Now, like I said, you're going to be resistant to change, and you might even deny that maybe you've fallen out of love with your partner, or your partner fell out of love with you, or the relationship has broken, or they've cheated on you. Okay, you might be denying that because it gives you that sense of balance, that sense of peace. Oh, that's not true. My partner would never cheat on me. Yeah, they would. And Aries, they did. So if you're looking at their innocence, don't be looking too close, because this is a reoccurring theme. Yeah. So don't resist the changes. The divine is going to point you in the direction that you need to go. Now, if your relationship breaks up, don't blame the reader, okay? This is a general reading, and it could affect you in a more general way. Maybe an ex has contacted your partner, maybe an ex has contacted you, and that might be viewed as a three-way split or a love triangle, right? Maybe nothing physical took place, but it could be a mental aspect. But be aware of that and know that you deserve better if you are involved in a love triangle. You deserve to have that love that is all consuming from one person, not from three. So I shall see you in the month of September, and please stay safe, stay happy, and know that you're worth a lot more. Namaste.